A glass of water. How much does this glass of water weigh? Think about that a minute. Some of you might be saying, I have no idea how much that weighs. Or, I don't even know how to start to figure out how much the glass of water weighs. Others might be thinking, well, a gallon of water weighs around 8 pounds. That's probably 6 or 8 ounces of water. Carry the 4, plus the weight of the glass. But from my perspective, it's not so much about how much the glass of water weighs. If I have to hold the glass long enough to take a drink, it's fairly light. If I hold the glass for 10 minutes, it's going to get a little heavier. If I hold the glass for an hour, it's going to get pretty heavy. If I hold it for a few hours, it can get so heavy, I might drop it. This is the way our lives work. This is the way all life works. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's not so much that the grocery line we're waiting in causes us great pain. It's the fact that we have the end-of-year sales meeting tomorrow. Our children are studying hard for the big exams right before the upcoming break. Our Christmas list might still be a little long. We may be coming down with a cold. Our spouse is having a hard time dealing with coworkers. We feel insecure about the status of our community, our nation, our world. Before long, we aren't carrying around glasses of water. We're carrying around a bucket of water, maybe even buckets. Allowing a bucket to sit on the floor is no big deal. Sure, it can get in the way, but it's just there. Pick it up and start carrying it around with you, and you'll begin to ache. Carry it all day long, and you may feel completely numb and paralyzed, incapable of doing anything else until you drop it. Unlike the stressors in our life, we can easily set down our buckets, pour them out, and move on. So how do we begin to sit down all the weights from life? Hope. Hope is what relieves us from the pain of stress. Hope is what brings us joy. Tuesday was my birthday. Tuesday for my birthday, I got a new nephew. The joy of new life is hope. We hope we get to watch this new person grow. The parents and our family hope that we can enjoy his life. I hope I get to watch Houston grow into the wonderful person God created him to be. Hope. If you pulled out your phone and Googled the word hope, you would get over 2 billion responses. 2 billion with a B hits. There's something to this idea of hope. John, in today's reading, offers hope. John knows who he is and who he is not. He claims for himself neither too much nor too little. He speaks the truth, but he is not the truth. He is illumined, but he is not the light. He is the voice of the one crying out in the wilderness, but he is not the Word of God. Everything about John points to the light and the life of the one who is both standing among us and the one who is coming. John is so hopeful that he will later bet his life on these things. That's how it is when we experience hope. We know hope to be so life-giving, so sustaining, so refreshing. We cling to it with all we are. John's is a voice of hope. His words echo through the wilderness of his and our own lives. John's, however, were not the first words of hope. Before John, there was Mary, proclaiming the great news of the Lord. She spoke of the one who shows favor to the lowly, offers mercy, and lends the strength of his arm. She spoke of the one who fills the hungry with good things and comes to the help of his people. Before Mary, there was Isaiah. The Lord anointed him to bring good news to the oppressed, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and release to the prisoners. He spoke about God comforting those who mourn and rebuilding the ruins of their lives. They will be clothed in garments of salvation and wear robes of righteousness. These words of hope are coming to a people longing under oppression of many rulers, under the burden of being taken away from their promised land by God and living under rules and laws of foreign kings and kingdoms for many, many years. God sent them words of hope while waiting for the coming Messiah, and sends us words of hope, of good news to share while we wait for the Messiah's return. John, Mary, Isaiah, and us here today, each one is a voice of hope. We are called to look back at the circumstances of life and the world and see a greater reality. They and each of us can testify to a life beyond our own. Within all of us are voices that recount the Word that was in the beginning, the Word that was with God, and the Word that was God. The Word that became flesh and dwells among us. The Word that enables us to be children of God. The greatest hope our world needs came into the world by the one who was born that night and laid in a manger. That one, Jesus, is our ultimate hope. And it is up to us to carry that voice of hope into the world today. Think about times when you were carrying, or maybe still today, are carrying heavy buckets. Answers and explanations don't always sustain us. How, when, what, or why is often not what we need. It is the words of hope that get us through it all. Hope doesn't make life easy. It makes life possible. Hope reminds us that it won't always be like this. There is light and life coming to us. It's already here among us. The stress and nonsense of the world can make it difficult to hear that voice. The hope of Christ coming. There are voices and noises and sounds that distract and clamor and compete for our attention. They often speak the loudest, but the voice of hope, the words of Jesus, the story of his birth, his actions, his death, his resurrection, have never been silenced. Hope is not a feeling, but an orientation, an attitude of life. It is a way of seeing. If we can orient our lives to find the hope, to see the hope, to live the hope, our faith becomes realized and awakened. It allows us to recognize and know the Christ, already here, but not yet come. Hope does not change the circumstances of our lives. It changes us, and that changes everything. May we be a people of hope this Advent season. May we wait with hope on the coming of Jesus and share the good news of hope he gives to all we meet.